I'd like to reconvene this meeting at 5:37, and that brings us to our boards and committees of council reporting. We have one item for today. It's the Hinton Municipal Library Board annual reporting and budget request. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the council members, past and present, who are in front of us today, as well as Stuart Taylor, who is on it. Last week, I was very privileged to have Mayor Michaels and Councillor Race, as well as Councillor Labarge, in the library doing a tour, and we took them to the inner dwellings of the library that normal people don't really get to see that often. And of course, it was very entertaining to see Councillor Race going through, how can I say, a Cadman yearbook from the 50s in our archives. And again, we're in the process of moving those items onto digital forms so that they don't get lost. And so again, we don't want to lose our history. We need to be the ones that actually preserve it. And thank you for giving the library a certain amount of our budget towards this. Okay, moving forward, we'll do the presentation. Councillor Haas helped me yesterday by making sure you did get the actual numbers. Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Haas, and if you have any questions on that, we're willing to answer it. I do want to make sure that you guys understand that the library is an autonomous organization within. It's similar to how you guys deal with the police and fire in this town. And so again, moving forward, just keep that in mind as we go through our presentation today, okay? First of all, we have 3 new board members. Thank you, Council, for putting them through. Kylie is a nice new mom. Susan Armstrong actually comes from Spruce Grove, which she worked within the city of Spruce Grove in development, I believe is what it was. And Mike's story was actually had Laura's position in a town along Highway 2. I don't remember which one. I think it's Millet. Yeah. Okay, so again, we have some good people now on our board, and it's good to have some new fresh blood on it, as it keeps us all relevant. As you can see, where the staff hasn't changed too much, and that's a good thing. We like keeping our staff around. Again, our vision is open doors, open books, and open minds. Okay, the mission statement, which continues to be the leading place for information, entertainment, communication, literacy. I will let you read the rest. Okay. Services available. We are open Monday to Friday, 10 to 8, and the weekends, both Saturday and Sunday, from 12 to 4. Okay, we have all those programs that you see. I'd like to bring attention to the 2 bottom ones, which is in our COVID restrictions. We are not doing in-person programming, and that has to do with the RAP as well. And meeting rooms, as in the tech hall room, cannot be rented out or used. It does mean that our study rooms can be used. And again, thanks for the town for cleaning protocols. It's been great in that part. One thing that the library does offer is we are not part of that RAP program. We have done a third, and that is legislated by the province, and we are following the direction of the province for this. Okay. Look, these are some of the programs. I got more of a list from the ladies. I put them. I will give them if you would like them. But again, you could see Tech Time, great. Lots of these programs, we were the only one in our region, West Yellowhead, to run programming online. Jasper didn't have the funding and actually cut the hours of the library as well as staff. Edson didn't have a manager until well into 2020. 2021, and so our programs were ones that were actually used by our brothers and sister libraries within our region. Okay, some of the programs for the summer: we have Fun at the Park, Construction Craze, Trivia Hour, Super Summer Story Time, Movie Mania, and Strolling. Movie Mania was a good one. It was actually together with Netflix. If you had a Netflix account. At home, you could actually log in with the library and the Netflix, and kind of feel that you're in the same movie theater with everyone else. And discussions could happen. Everything. It's kind of a neat kind of program. I do have to tell you that Anea would love to be here, But again, he didn't take his vacation this year at the proper time because of COVID. Was a tough year for us at the library, making sure that we follow the restrictions, and so he had a baby girl, and he is visiting with his baby girl and his wife in the U.S. We're hoping he can come back, but again, we'll see how that goes. And so again, we're wishing him the best. If he's viewing this online, thanks. If I made a mistake, you let me know, Annie. Okay? Okay, our project status, okay? So what have we done? Okay. So we're in a cycle. We have the same sort of thing as a strat plan as what you guys do. Ours is called a plan of service. To get government funding from municipal affairs, we need to put one together every 5 years. So we're in the middle of one right now. We have it until 2024. And as you can look, these are some of the Makerspace projects that were part of our plan of service. It's underneath the creativity emblem. I'll give you all three later on in this presentation. And so the countertop, I went to the library just before this meeting, has been installed. Harry from H&S has completed the work there. It's just a matter of our library staff and to make sure that they move the products out. So I think that's awesome. Okay. Again, Makerspace sponsorship we got from Asante Wealth Management, who gave the bulk line share of it. They actually bought our 3D printer. And Walmart has donated $1,000, which actually helped with that as well. So again, we are reaching out. We're hoping that we can get more sponsorship within our town for this as we move forward with our new plan of service coming soon. Okay, and here's the library budget. Okay, again, this is just, like I say, the last few lines of what the one that you guys have, which has the yellow highlighted sections in it. You guys asked for more detail, which we would definitely give to you. The one I really want you to focus on is the transfer from reserve. This is our reserve as a library reserve. Last year, it was we gave the option for a town administration to either take $180,000 straight from our reserve for that year, or to subject it out as she see fit. Finance department asked, I believe Carl Fox's was her name, asked that this be done over a series of 3 years. We are in year 2. As you can tell, our ask is 506, but because of the 60,000, it moves it down to 446. Okay, so again, next year I'll be here saying the same thing, that this is the final year of our 60,000. Okay, and this was due to COVID. We are not spending as much money as we normally would through this. It doesn't mean we would like a $60,000 cut permanently, but it shows that yes, we know what it's like for the taxpayers of this town to pay for services within it, and so we thought this would be a good way to use it. This does knock our reserves down quite a bit, and since we have a good working relationship with town administration as well as with the councils in past and present, we thought this was a risk that we could maintain. Okay, moving forward, you can see what our revenues and expenses are. I'll just move forward. We'll finish the presentation. I'll get you the ask. Okay, here are some statistics. Okay, total number. These are the books of music, videos we have within the library right now, and that is 29,000. Okay, the workstation sessions. These are the computers that people use, either the laptops they could use within the library or the desktop units that's there. And that number has increased astronomically, and not because of just kids playing computer use either. Most of the time, they get an hour for that, and it's and we also have other game consoles that they could use within their section of the library, which frees up the computers for that session. So, okay, total number of program sessions during this year, 262 guys. Look at how many people access this. We did not, we cannot separate that from town to county or town to other towns. Since all programming is online, all programming is free. Library cards are free. We do not charge. That's within Alberta government legislation, we are not allowed to charge for the use of a library. That we've gotten away with it before by asking for a charge on the card that we make. But again, cards are becoming things of the past, and apps and phones are the thing of the future, or the present and future now. And so we have moved with many other libraries within, I believe there's only 3 or 4 within our region of Yellowhead that still charge for cards. But we're the vast majority, including the major centers, do not charge for cards. Okay, so again, 17,000 people. That's amazing. Okay, here are the 3 objectives, which we call our plan of service, and creating young readers and early literacy, expressing creativity, which is done by it's done by what I spoke of before, and lifelong learning are the 3 objectives. Okay, and any questions and something you guys want to bring forward, you're welcome to do so. One thing I do like to add, thank you, Councillor Taylor, for sending Councillor Haas the questions you had. I will answer them if you would like. Okay, I have the ability. So
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for that. Council, any questions, comments? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, if you could answer them, I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, I got your questions here, there, Mr. Taylor. And so give me a second here to get the right page. Okay. Hinton Municipal Library is still one of the highest funded per capita of the communities, okay, between 5 and 50,000 residents. The data on the municipal also on Municipal Affairs website, which is the PLSB website, which stands for Public Library Services branch of Municipal Affairs, states that we have one of the highest at $55.14 per capita. Okay, he wanted me to explain why are we so high. Okay, there's 3 reasons for this. The first one is the allocation that we pay for our membership dues to become part of Yellowhead Regional Library, which is $45,000, is actually charged to the municipality, which the municipality burdens on the library budget. So it's still an in and out, but that's $5 per head on there. Okay. The second one is the archives. We have an archive. We are one of 2 libraries in the region, I believe, that have an archive as part of our libraries. The initial, how can I say, when we had this fight many years ago, Mr. McGowan, you brought that forward, that $40,000 in the 90s was actually of the budget was used for the archives. Okay. I would like to say it's close because we're digitizing it and it's very sensitive items. We use some of our reserves already to make those things digital. Okay, the reserve part was for the Hinton Voice, the early editions, which were not PDF'd, to be PDF'd. Okay, we use that. But again, each piece needs to be gone through and to be scanned and properly and taken a photo of. And it's a very, very tricky situation, as Joanne can attest to already. Okay, and the third one is we are one of the only ones that actually has a union contract that is within the town setting. And with that, so the third, also there's a fourth one, and the gift in kind. And if you look at why they have not updated this website to 2020 or 2021, is because they were not comparing apples to apples when libraries were actually posted on there. The reporting structure of the libraries, again being autonomous organizations, was not mandatory to put your gift in kind in with your paperwork. We are very progressive here in Hinton and want to show what our gift in kind was. And town administration has been very forthcoming on this because we want to be very transparent on the money that we get and how it is spent. Okay, so with that, that knocks that down about, so 50,000 there, 50,000 there, another 100,000 there. That knocks us down into the range of where we need to be at. Okay, the second Okay, the second one, he said, well, Hinton's capped is this, Edson's is 35. Edson has half the library we have. We were, when they made that rec center and allocated the space for the library, I have to admit, that was the previous guy here. I probably believe that was Bernie Kreiner that helped with that as well. So again, it was great, and we are growing into it, okay? It's a space being used. We have study rooms in the back, which both Councillor Labarge and Councillor Race have seen, and that's in a strict usage from, thank goodness, from the rec center, which they can pull that during the summer when they need it. And it's great because it gives more space and a quiet space for our students who do a lot more studying online these days through COVID than they did ever before to actually complete their tests and their subject matter. Okay, so again, for Councillor Taylor, I would like to draw your attention, instead of maybe putting us with Edson, Drayton Valley, and Whitecourt, I think you need to look at the example that Wetaskiwin has. I think that would be a better fit for our community. They have a similar sized library. They have a few more thousand people than we do, and they offer the same sort of services. Okay. One new thing that we are doing as well, and it's we've been tasked by administration, and this could change how budget presentations go in the future, is that they are asking us to come up with contract services of what the town does and what we do. And what this does, it will show that, say we have an HR event, okay, of what that actual costing was. Okay, so again, the 93,000 that you see in the gift in kind will most likely change when this goes on to the future. This is not a bad thing, okay? It's going to show and make us all more transparent. Okay, this is in the process of being reviewed by Municipal Affairs on my side. We have worked with the town's lawyers as well as each department head. And again, thank you, Laura, as well as Hans, who was big on helping us jump through these hurdles. And we are waiting for results to come back from Municipal Affairs to make sure that it dots the I's and crosses the T's with the province. Okay. 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 I believe that answers that one. So Stuart, is there another one? You had the last question here, which is the active memberships compared to the memberships that we have, and also about subsidies, okay? Again, to speak to subsidies, we don't charge anyone for a library card per year. Okay, we actually found that our revenues increased for people like that, because what happens, they end up coming in, they want to fax something, they want to print something, they want something laminated. Okay, and of course they're using our computers. They need to print. There's printing costs that need to come up. There are cost recovery, but still, that ends up. We were in the $6,500 range a few years ago when it came to our revenue coming into the library, and now we're over 10,000. And so what that means is that we also have more members. Okay, we have a total of 3,806 library card holders. Out of that, about 1,700 use it on a constant, heavy basis. Okay, but again, you do not need a library card to be part of a program. You do not need a library card to get into the library. You need a library card to take something out of the library. Okay, so again, it doesn't show our full relevance, just showing you that number. Okay. Stuart, is there anything that, sorry, Councillor Taylor, is there anything that I missed?
Councillor Taylor?
No, that's great. I appreciate the answers. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you for giving me 24 hours notice.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Council, anything further? Any questions? Councillor Haas.
Just a few comments in regards, just to highlight some things too. We also just conducted an efficiency look at what services we are providing, and we have a renowned person in the business that we allocated some funds to in the last, and we should be getting that report here in the new year. And just to look at the efficiencies of the staff that we have and the programs we're doing, and can we do things differently, more efficient. So that's something that we've also taken into regards, as a board, as I am part of that too. So I think that's one of the biggest things we did. And, one of the things that is interesting is we think of nowadays in the future of digital, but people still want to come to our library. They still need the library for a lot of services. In fact, we even provided laptop services throughout COVID as well, that they were able to sign out laptops because we recognize some people don't have access to computers. They usually come to the library. Unfortunately, they couldn't. So, I think there's definitely a great need for it. Sure, we've even, become a hybrid of the digital world now too, with all the program that we did as well. Which also, I know that there was some question as having staff during COVID, but they provided a well-worth program to young kids and other kids that were all at home, and parents really enjoyed it as well from the feedback. So just wanted to touch on a couple of things too that I also want to really highlight. We do have fines as well, but one of the programs that we did read off their fines for a while, where they didn't have to pay, and a lot of people weren't coming to the library because they had fines. So they were able to come and they read off their fines. So we got promoted both the reading, and they got to square one too with those fines. So that was a really, I think, productive program that we offered as well. So I really enjoyed being part of this board and the library itself, and it provides a lot of services to our community. So.
If I could just talk a little bit about the organization review that we did purchase, she did come. It was Dr. Margaret Law. She is actually a professor of library service or information services at the University of Alberta. Okay, she did it for our regional head office, and we liked her progressive approach, and she doesn't mince her words. So when she comes to us in January, again, I have a preliminary report. Sorry, Trevor, you do not yet, as it's still considered confidential until then. But again, this is something that maybe we should have done years ago so that we can actually find ways of doing things better. And so again, because sometimes when it comes to with the staff turnover we've had at the manager position within the last 6 years, I believe we're on number 3 since then, right? Since Betty. And so again, this will show what we need to do and hopefully fit better within our communities. I do have to admit we have good partnerships within our community as well. Okay, Rotary is a good one to start off with. Okay, another one is HANDS, which is a Hinton Abilities Network and Development Society. And we also have one with Community Futures at this point right now, dealing with is it energy production and stuff like that, or energy efficiency, I think it's about. And so it makes it good, and we're finding more of those within our community to not only show our relevance, but also help promote the relevance of their group inside our town.
Council. For myself, I like this budget. The biggest challenge is going to be 2024, where you see that huge increase, 1%, just over 1% for this year, 4% for 2023. Those are, I think, reasonable. My only question is, in the year that will be probably our biggest challenge, which is 2024, I see the revenue stays consistent. Can you speak to possibly increasing revenue, grants, things of that nature in order to offset the costs?
Okay. Again, there's some things within this. Okay. Our allocation that we get from the county was actually more this year than it was actually in our budget. But again, the mathematics that goes into that, and because we're using our money coming back from reserves, did that. Okay, because if we put money into reserves, that affects the formula that the county uses to give their allocation to us. Okay, so this one in reverse will show that our allocation for that should go on the increase. Again, when we try to budget, we really hope you know what, you always be very conservative within it so that you could make sure that you have enough money and they're not asking you at the end of the year to finance our deficit, okay? I don't think we've ever done that, at least in the 7 years I've been board chair. But again, that's something we need to do. Other things we are looking, as Councillor Haas has also stated many times in our meeting, that we need more, how can I say, money from our community and from community companies. It's tough right now, as we lost some major ones during COVID, but we are hoping to do more, okay, and to access more throughout. And so the only way, again, when it comes to budget and what you guys do, you are 85%. You give us 85% of what our budget is, and the rest, 15%, either comes from the province. Okay, so again, libraries normally have worked like that for eons and years. Okay, but again, you guys' ability to get tax money from the provincial government is limited these days as well, and we know what we have to go through. We are looking to hopefully get more revenue into our coffers as moving forward.
Perfect. Council. Anything for Councillor Taylor?
Yeah, Hank, thank you very much. I had one more question. I did go back to our consolidated financial statements for 2020, and I saw that it's quite a while ago, but the budget was 685,000, although all that was spent in 2020 was 594,000. So budget and actual were quite a bit different. And I'm just what was actually spent matches what you've got for 2021 in the expenses, but what was budgeted in 2020 doesn't. Is there an explanation for that? Because
again, this would be better answered by ANEO, as well as maybe some help from town administration on exactly what happened there. I'm sorry, he's not here to answer that question, but what I can do for you, Councillor Taylor, is I'll write him a message and put you in the heading, and then see if I could get you an answer for that, okay?
that'd be great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Taylor, Council, anything further? Seeing none, administration, no direction needed for this?
No.
Thank you for that. Well, if there's nothing further, Hank, we'd like to thank you for your passion, your enthusiasm, and love for the library, and Councillor Haas for sitting on that board. And I really appreciate this breakdown this evening.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you, Councillor and Mayor Michaels, for putting my name forward as your rep for YRL. I have been successfully elected as board chair on that board as well for another year.
Congrats, Hank. And Council, I know we had moved our in-camera fifth item. The individual that was going to participate in that is no longer available. So I would need a direction, unless Council has the appetite to go into closed session now, or we can move it back to its previously scheduled spot. But I would need a motion from Council to do so. Councilor Magoon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that the item listed. Sorry, I'm trying to get the appropriate action for closed session item number.
Personnel CAO.
Yes, if closed session item number 5 could be moved back into its original spot, number 5 within closed session.
Thank you, Councilor Magoon. Council, we have a motion to amend the agenda. Any debate? Seeing none, I'll call to question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously. That'll bring us to our action item list for this evening. The first one, COVID-19 restrictions exemption program related security services, CAO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. As you recall, back in September of 2021, we were provided the opportunity from the province to enter into a restriction exemption program. The rec center qualified for that, and other than a brief interruption in early October. We have been under that practice since. Since October 5th, we've had a security company supporting our entry requirements to comply with that program. The report this evening was originally the second of 3 that were coming to council as an information item that we had committed to do when we entered into that program. And this evening, it is, instead of an information item, it's actually a request for decision. You'll recall that there was some funding that was provided by council to assist in supporting the contracted security services till almost the end of this year. And the opportunity for council this evening is a couple things. Basically, 2 options, either continue with the restriction exemption program, the REP, or discontinue that program. If you choose to continue it, you have a couple choices under that option as well, 3 exactly. You can continue with the contracted security services. We can hire and train additional town staff, or we can continue with the REP program without contracted staff or additional town staff. And so the report is before you. I also have the co-authors, Ms. McEachran and Mr. Von Claveren, here to support any questions that council may have.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Councilor Magoon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, generally the question that I have for administration, and it was discussed earlier when the REP first came into place. Is it fair to categorize that our current sporting activities and programs, youth sports, adult hockey, those sorts of things at the rec center, swimming, if we were not implementing the REP program currently, a lot of those programs simply wouldn't be able to be in place? Is that a fair statement of fact?
That is correct. Ms. McEachran, if there's anything else you wanted to do to round out that answer.
Thank you, through to the chair and the rest of council. Yeah, that is correct. It would majorly impact our adult programming and aqua fitness, drop-ins for adults overall. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Magoon. Councilor LeBaird?
I was going to ask a different question, but why would doing away with the REP program eliminate the ability to do those things?
Administration.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to Councilor LeBarge. Again, I'd like to, just because they work so closely with trying to keep up with all the provincial changes and clarifications on the website, Mr. Von Claveren or Ms. McEachran, please.
Yep. Thank you, CEO Howard, and through to the chair, to council. So basically, a portion of the program, of course, can continue, but what should cease to exist is the adult group sports. So the adult group sports cannot continue without the rep in place. If we do not the rep in place, then the groups could continue with doing it by themselves. So basically, become a renter of a space that implement the reps themselves. Otherwise, those activities can absolutely not take place. The youth sports have been always part of, let's say, a continuation by the province. That's what the goal was. So those will continue, of course, as is. Same as public, let's say, mixed activities can still take place. We can, as an organization, not provide any programming under our flag, like was said before, the Aquafit, for instance. Thank you.
Councilor LeBaird?
Just to follow on that, I guess, is like if attendance was only 30% of capacity, isn't that allowed under this program?
Administration?
If I can continue, thank you so much. Yes, 1/3 of capacity. So for instance, the swimming pool sees already our capacity go up to 1/3 or even go over 1/3 right now under the rep, because you can go up to full capacity. As soon as the rep is gone, we should limit our public swims to 1/3 capacity in total. And we would put a stop to a certain capacity that's around 70 people in the pool facility, for instance. And we are getting over that number already in the meantime.
Okay, I still don't understand why it has to stop if there would be number limits, but I mean, that it would all have to stop. So hockey, swimming, it would all have to stop?
So if I can answer that, no, it doesn't have to stop. The 1/3 capacity limit means you cannot have more than 1/3 of the capacity of fire code in your building. So for example, the swimming pool has about a 230 capacity. So that means 1/3 is only 70 plus. Anything over that during public swims cannot enter the pool and has to wait till less than 70 plus people are in the pool. So our activities can continue. The group adult organized sports, they have to cease unless under the, let's say, situation that they implement the rep themselves, for themselves, monitor themselves, then they could continue. We don't see that happen a lot in our neighboring communities. There's one community that has a couple of adult groups that do that. The operator, so the town, is still liable for adhering to that program and still is the one that's monitored by the province for any infractions.
So that I understand then, so you could have 70 in the pool, but hockey would have to cease. Wouldn't the same rules apply? I mean, if there was a 30% capacity in the arena, and I don't know, it's 200 and some people, I think, in the small arena. I mean, if you had 2 hockey teams in there, you wouldn't be in excess of the limits imposed by the 1/3. So why then would that not be allowed to happen?
Thank you for continuing the answering down here. So without the rep, adult group is not allowed to continue. So if we don't have the rep as a facility, they cannot continue as an adult group activity.
So that's the rule, no adult.
That is the rule,
group
yeah.
activity. Okay.
Correct, that's the
what I
rule.
was trying to understand, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Barish. Councilor Good?
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'm assuming with one of our majority tenants in the arena side with the Timberwolves, if the town of Hinton discontinued the REP program, how would that impact our relationship with them and their ability to host games?
Go ahead, Mr. Von Claveren or Ms. McEachran.
Thank you, and through to the chair, I'll take this one first. So since the Timberwolves is an adult organization, they will have to cease their activity. The only option would be if the Timberwolves themselves implement the rep, do the screening, do the organization, do the monitoring of that portion of the facility. That means if we don't do that as a operator of the building, they could do that. Up to now, they have chosen not to do so, and it will be, let's say, hard to monitor that in a facility that's a multi-use facility, of course, at that moment. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that doesn't. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council? We don't have any direction on the floor. Councilor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the council approve up to $50,000 for contracted security services for the remainder 2021 and up to April 15th, 2022 to continue the COVID-19 restrictions exemption program at the Dr. Duncan Murray Recreation Center and other municipal buildings on an as-needed basis to be funded from the Emergency Response Reserve. If I could speak to it quickly. We, as a council, we've received communications from administration that there has been issues at the rec center, continued issues at the rec center with the hired security having to educate and having to prevent people from coming into the facility who are not compliant with the REP requirements. For $50,000 for the next 4 months, I strongly do not believe that we would be able to hire staff, train staff, pay staff for the next 4 months for what we're paying this private security service to provide to the town on a temporary basis. I feel it's important to make sure that the staff and the patrons at the rec center and the other public buildings feel safe and that they feel comfortable in attending and working at those facilities. So I'm making this motion and will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stashik. Council, we have a motion on the floor. I have one question for administration. Do we have cameras in the lobby, in the entryway at the rec center? I'm unaware if we do.
Yes, that facility is monitored.
I struggle with this one. To me, I want to see an end date for this. So many other municipalities and other small businesses had challenges, still have some, but continue to do this without this extra security. And to me, this is about working a partnership with the RCMP. And I wanted to confirm, if people are giving a hard time, then the RCMP have to start charging these people who are causing certain situations. And if it's monitored, it's a small community, to me, how long does this go for? And that's where I'm debating supporting this, meaning I think it's a timing issue, but I personally think I'm ready to try to do it with our staff, with the help of our RCMP, and to actually enforce the law if something happens. Again, at this rate, this is 150,000. This is over a CPO's position. This is a lot of money to spend. That you go to any restaurant and it's just the hostess that does it. And at some point here, Bonnie's in the front. I'm in my office with no security. At some point, I think we have to work with our RCMP. So I don't know how else to say it, but I struggle with supporting this for another 4 months. Thank you. Councillor Haas.
Yeah, I'm going to be in support of this, and along the line, same as Councillor Stashik, just the fact to stop this and then get our staff trained or even hired, and I think that would cost us even more. But the fact is, this is a public place. You know, when it comes to businesses, I think it's apples and oranges, to be 100% honest with you. They have the choice, you know, whether to serve or don't serve, and you know, and I believe this is a public place. We have staff there. There's already been a demonstration that, and I believe that we also are bringing people in from other communities, and conversations I've had with other communities aren't following as strict as rules and are showing up expecting the same as their community, and then causing some difficulty at our rec center. So it's not only our current citizens, but it's the citizens that are coming outside from our community. And I think, you know, for the best interest, it is, you said how long, in 4 months, we'll see this again and see where things are at that time. And, you know, and whether it's with the restriction exemption program itself, we might have provincial guidelines that change too, we don't know. But I'm prepared, you know, it's coming from the emergency response reserve, which it's there for that reason. And for that, I'm going to support the $50,000 for the next 4 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Councillor Stashik.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Council. Councillor Taylor.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't support this. And that's not to say that we've been doing things wrong. I think we had an original incident of some sort. We got the security people in. We went full on with the security for the first month. We backed off, I think the second month or two, 100 hours or so with the security folks. I did ask what kind of incidences there were to support some of the strong statements on the behavior in here. I didn't get enough to make me feel that continued security was okay. Well, at the same time, I think the public is getting very used to this program. They're very used to very quickly providing their ID and their QR code. And I know that there are other towns that just handle this with their customer service staff, much like restaurants do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Baird.
I too will speak against this. At some point, we need to get on with life. I think that's the point we're at now. And so we need to figure out how to do these things go forward. And, you know, with due respect, the businesses actually don't have a choice. They do it or they go broke, and they do it. And in the face sometimes of some pushback, I've seen it in my own business. But, you know, I think it's a fair request that we perform, behave in the same way.
Thank you, Councilor LaBerge. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any further debate or questions? Seeing none, call to question that council approve up to $50,000 for the contracted security services for the remainder 2021 and up to April 15, 2022 to continue the COVID-19 restriction exemption program at the Dr. Duncan Murray Recreation Center and other municipal buildings on an as-needed basis to be funded from the Emergency Response Reserve. Council, all those in favor? Opposed? That is defeated. 4-3. Councilor Taylor. You're muted, yeah.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. Is it appropriate that I make another motion now?
It's up to you.
Yeah, I move that we put in that council accept the COVID restrictions exemption program related security services report for information. Number 4.
So option 4.
Yeah, which is option D, I believe. And that allows us to continue with the scheduled. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. And that allows us to continue with the scheduled customer service clerk. I've spoken to that before. I have nothing new to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Taylor. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions? For administration, so this would cancel the security service that we currently have. I just want to confirm that.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. So we have the previous motion, which takes us, will terminate on, December 24th. Mr. Von Claveren, you can verify that for me, but the current contract would expire with the notice we would give them just before we, I think, close. It might be December 27th, but Mr. Von, yes, December 27th. We would give notice that that contract is no longer needed by the service, and we would continue with the REP program at the rec center without support from staff, additional staff, my apologies, or additional contracted services.
Thank you for that clarification. So essentially, it's the 4th option, alternative option, but it speaks to option D within the report on page 56.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions? Councilor Stashik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I won't be supporting the proposed motion. This is relying on staff who already had existing duties to perform while they were at work to take on the additional duty of having to screen every patron that comes through the door for REP compliance. I don't see how that's going to be workable in the situation where there's a Timberwolves game happening, where there's a minor hockey tournament, and there's still patrons who are coming in who want to pay to go swimming, want to use the rest of the facility. I just do not see how that can physically be possible for the regular front desk staff to be able to do that in addition to all the regular duties that they had in their full-time job already. It also presents me with some concern that if there is an incident, protest, anything like that, that they have limited municipal backup that's available on site to them. We need to recognize that we are a municipal facility. We're not a business. We're not a standalone mom and pop store where somebody might come in and raise a scene and yell and say this is BS and storm out. We are an object of attention being a municipality. And if there is an attempt to make a statement, to make a show they're likely going to choose a municipal facility to do it in. And to me, that presents a risk that's significantly higher than a regular business in town. Previous motion wasn't accepted. It didn't pass. I really wish that we had done some sort of an interim thing where we could have continued to provide security on site until we had a solid, workable plan where we could make sure that our staff are safe and that patrons are safe and that everybody feels comfortable. Right now, with this, I'm not comfortable, and I wouldn't be comfortable attending the rec center if this passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Council, any questions, debate? Councillor LaBerge?
Question, I mean, for a Timberwolf game, there's no contractual obligation for the town to provide this service to the Timberwolves. Is that correct?
Administration?
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to Councillor Berge. Correct, we are not under contract with the Timberwolves to provide this service for them, but we do have an obligation as the facility operator to ensure that everyone is in compliance with the restrictions. And so both directly and indirectly, that still lands with the town. And there's no way of avoiding that responsibility and potential consequence. It's a little difficult to entirely quarantine off, say, that facility for those games. They could all come in a separate entrance. Again, as Mr. Van Claveren alluded to before, they could rent the facility. They would have to develop their own compliance. People could not come and go from that facility. They would have to stay within those boundaries. Or otherwise, we would have to have our own staff at multiple exits from that arena, so that when they cross into the municipal section of the rec center, we would then have to have people there to make sure that they were in compliance into our section. So that it's a bit logistical challenge, but we are not under contract by the Timberwolves to provide that service for them right now.
Councillor LaBerge?
No, that's good, thanks.
Thank you, Councillor LaBerge. Councillor Stashik?
So I would like to follow up on that then. So if this passes and we're moving ahead with the REP program without contracted services or additional town staff, how would a Timberwolves game be handled then? Because my understanding is they're also not under any obligation to provide services for the REP. They're renting the facility, and the facility comes with all the obligations that come with the town's commitment to renting that facility to them.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to Councillor Ostashik. So that is correct. Because our facility under this motion remains an REP under the REP program, that's not an option for the group. Everybody in there needs to comply with that. They are our customer. The Timberwolves are our customers. And so what would happen is everyone would come in the front door and they would have to stop at the customer service clerk desk, line up with everyone else who's going to everywhere else in the facility, and wait in line to be addressed by our customer service clerk. And so people may do that. They may not, and we would not have the resources or staffing to ensure that compliance, because there's no portal where everybody comes through and no stopping point for that. But regardless, we would still be responsible for any violations that happened in that footprint.
Councillor Stashik?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Council? Councillor Haas?
Yeah, I'm not going to be in support of this. If we're going to do without contracted services, I believe that we do need to have extra staff there, just logistically too. I mean, currently you walk in and you're right at the doors. Technically, you're not to enter that facility until you show your REP proof of. We're asking them to walk up to the reception desk, show it potentially, then, because I mean, we're going to ask that person to come to the door, put them through, go it just logistically makes no sense to me with the current staffing that we have. And someone going into that facility, up to that desk, lining up to that, and then somebody doesn't comply with REP, and then that person has to deal with that person who's behind a desk, they're already into the facility already. The risks that poses not only to the staff, but also to the people that are there potentially. I'm just not comfortable with that. And I don't expect our current staff to have to deal with that either as well. In my opinion, that's not in their job description. I don't see any of security or anything as job description in that, right? So I can't support this. If we're not going to have contracted services, I think we need to support our staff with extra staff then to adhere to this. And I believe that personally, I mean, the Timberwolves themselves have had not a lot of home games. A lot of their home games are coming up into the new year, and we're going to see a lot more traffic in that facility. And, you know, it needs to be complied with, or we're liable. So I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Councillor Stashik.
So I just want to point out, it's not just Timberwolves games. There's a minor hockey tournament, right? If it's a minor hockey tournament, there's people coming and going all day, in and out, in and out, in and out. Every time they come in, they're going to have to go to the customer service desk and present their REP information again to be allowed back into the facility. Otherwise, we have to come up with some kind of a wristband or stamp or some other kind of thing that they would still need to show when they come in and out. And anybody that's been to a minor hockey tournament knows that the traffic going in and out the doors of that as everybody comes and leaves for games is constant, steady. I can't imagine what it would be like to be trying to go to attend the rec center to go swimming when that kind of activity and that kind of disruption would be going on. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Councillor Magoon.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm worried about is that council's getting a little bit too bogged down in the details. I guess my question for administration is there anything to stop administration from discussing with user groups how to mitigate that interference to the facility? You know, in the case of a large tournament or a Timberwolves game, for example, you know, having the group provide volunteers under the supervision of town staff, scanning QR codes as they come in. Is there anything to stop us from coming up with any kind of solutions like that?
CO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to Councillor Magoon. We could explore options to see if our customers want to help us provide a service to them. That's how I look at that. Again, all of our user groups and all of our public are customers, and whether they're turning around and hosting additional customers, our volunteers do step up and do a lot for sure. We could have that conversation with them to see if there's an appetite for them to provide volunteers to do that. It doesn't remove the obligation of the town to ensure that that is done correctly, but it would provide some volunteer assistance for the organization to do that. The other thing is I'm not sure what. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, my point is that I think there are ways around in dealing with this less than a perfect situation, which is not the fault of anyone. Understand that we're simply trying to deal with the REP program that was, you know, put into place by the provincial government so that we can engage in some kind of activities. My high level concern is that sustainably, if you look at $50,000 per quarter, that's just not a sustainable program, or that there's more efficient ways to spend that funding to invest in long-term security. So in this case, that's why I certainly supported the last motion, and that I'm apt at this point to support this motion. However, I'm certainly open during the budgetary operation discussions to look at other options that are more efficient or that do provide security to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Magoon. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Administration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Von Claveren, can you just speak to why in the original motion you had chosen April 15th?
Thank you, Acting CEO, Interim CEO Howard, and through the council. The April 15th is chosen based on the ice season. So we know, of course, that the big event is happening in the end of March. The Timberwolves have a program basically that runs to the beginning of April or a little bit into April, depending on their season and how far they reach their tournament and their championships. So that's why it's chosen. We know that after that, the pressure on the facility will be lower because that's the end of ice season. The ice goes out and we're down to our, let's say, spring and summer programming. That's why that was chosen to take that first section only portion of time. Thank you.
Thank you, administration. Council, any further debate? Seeing none, I'll call to question that council accept the COVID-19 restrictions exemption program related security services report for information. Council, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried 4-3. Council, anything further for this action item? Seeing none, that'll bring us, oh, Councillor Hawes?
Yeah, just if I may, Mayor Michaels. It came across my desk. I did share it with CEO Howarth. It's to do with some training in regards to this for staff. Is that something that the administration is going to look at to train the current staff in to be able to handle some? It's something the government was offering. I sent an email about it, but I can look into it, resend it. But I believe, is there, with this new motion, is there potentially a plan in place to prepare our staff for dealing with these situations?
Administration?
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. To Councillor Hawes. My apologies. I may not have seen that come across my email yet. But we always look for opportunities to train our staff and enhance their skills. If that can be done within budget and within the resources that we have, we will explore that. And just to mitigate the risk and to build their confidence in dealing with these kind of situations.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, anything further for the first item? Seeing none, that'll bring us to our second item.
Mayor Michaels, if I may.
Councillor Stashik.
I apologize. This may be a little bit off topic, but I need to ask administration what supports are available to the rec center staff in the event that they have somebody that's belligerent and that isn't complying and refusing to leave. And if I can expound on it, my understanding is that some of the front desk attendants at the recreation center are high school students who aren't even adults yet. And my understanding is with this passing, we're putting that responsibility onto high school students. So I need to ask what's available to them for resources if there's an incident.
Administration.
Mayor Michaels, through to Councillor Stashik. So we have protocols in place and options for staff for emergencies, whether that's pulling fire alarms, calling the RCMP. They call their colleagues in other areas of the building. So again, nights and weekends, particularly when we don't have management staff on site, we do have senior operators both in the pool and in the arena that have responsibility for those facilities individually and collectively. So we have always had that, and we will continue to have that. And for any other situation that may occur, there's a protocol that they follow, and once it gets to a certain escalated level, the option is to call 911, and so that's what they do, and get the response based on that matter.
Thank you. Council, anything further? Seeing none, that'll bring us to our second item for this evening. 2022 public auction required approval of reserve bid for tax arrears properties and associated tax recovery costs to parcel. CEO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. Quite the title. I will keep this one short. So before council, of course, we're looking for approval of the reserve bids for the tax arrear properties. We have 3 at this point in time that need to follow the process. We're looking for council to set the date for that auction and also to approve the sale conditions, which are noted below. This is a typical and an expected responsibility of council through the MGA. And we've actually just finished this one of these a little while ago. We have 3 more in the queue. So we're just looking for some support to move those forward so that we can get them advertised and the process can be go through. I have Ms. Duncan as well as Ms. Fox here to assist if you have any other questions.
Thank you, CEO Howard. Councilor Magoo?
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make the recommended actions, and I'd look to conjoin them with Ann's statements to deal with them in one swoop, provided no other councillor makes a motion to do separate.
Thank you, Councilor Magoo. So that would be the entire recommended action combined into one motion. And I'll just await that to show up on the screen. So that would be Councilor Magoo.
Yeah, so following the 2,093,000 after 828, I believe that would be an and statement because that would be a separate clause. And then following 1 p.m., that would also be an and statement.
Yeah, as we let administration do that.
If I may briefly, certainly, yeah, Mr. Mayor, as anyone who's been on council knows, this is a regular part of our business. When we get to this point, I trust that administration has in the past, as they always do, go through the appropriate processes with this. And that, you know, again, this is just one of those things that unfortunately we have to do as a council as part of the business of the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Magoo. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions, debate? Seeing none, I won't be repeating this. This is the recommended action on page 59. Council, all those in favor? That is passed unanimously. Council, anything further for this action item for this evening? Seeing none, that'll bring us to our third item. It is the British Columbia Wildfire Deployment Revenue. CEO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. This was a report and discussion that committee had last week with the direction to bring a decision request forward today. Administration has no additional new information that will assist you in making this decision this evening. So our recommendation stands. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Howard. Councilor Hawes.
Yeah, I'd like to move the council approve the transfer of the 2021 net unbudgeted revenues totaling $95,331 generated by the Fire Rescue Service branch related to the British Columbia Wildfire Deployment to the Fire Equipment Reserve. And I'll just speak to it briefly. You know, it was unfortunate for BC and the fires, but thankfully we were able to attend and provide some service. And I mean, this unbudgeted revenue, you know, being as how it was the fire department in the winter, I think it's logical go to the Fire Equipment Reserve. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hawes. Councilor Magoo.
Yeah, I just honestly, I'd like to express a thank you to those members of the fire department, both the officers and the firefighters who went out to crew this. You know, you head out to something like this hoping everything goes well, but that's not a guarantee, you know, and now, you know, we're fortunate to be able to deal with the revenue in this instance. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Magoo. Council, any further debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. The council approved the transfer of the 2021 unbudgeted net revenues totaling $95,331 generated by the Fire Rescue Services branch related to the British Columbia Wildfire Deployment to the Fire Equipment Reserve. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Council, anything further for our third item? Seeing none, I'll move on to the updated 2022 interim operating budget. CO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. So back on December 7th, council approved to adopt their 2022 interim operating budget. Throughout 2021, we have changed the way that we're reporting both our first trimester, our second quarter, and our third quarter financials to council. In alignment with that change, we presented the interim operating budget under the same format. What that has done is perhaps caused a little bit of confusion about why those two numbers don't match. As you can see in the report, there's quite transparent in explaining how that is. There's about a $6 million difference between those two numbers, being the 28 million and the almost 35 million. And that's made up of about $1 million worth of interdepartmental charges, which don't normally get reported because they net zero. They're simply in and outs throughout within the organization. And the larger part of it, which is just over $5,000, is the money that is collected from the Evergreen Foundation for Senior Housing, as well as the school taxation that's payable. So while we collect that, it is not per se part of what gets expensed to run the town. And so those two numbers are provided for you tonight. Both of them are correct. The options before council is you can leave your December 7th motion as it stands because it is correct. But if you wanted to connect it to the motion made a little over a year ago that aligns with the $28 million budget that you approved, that would also be correct. And I have Ms. Fox here if you have any questions I can't answer.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Council. Councilor LaBerge.
Well, and thanks for the information. I really appreciate the update. And I do think it's important to tie these, the two budget considerations together. Now, I won't read out option one, but I would make that option that we rescind the December 7th motion and replace it with the motion as indicated in option one.
CO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. We have presented those two recommendations in a format that you can do them separately or combined. And then if someone wants to separate your motion or split the motion, you can do that afterwards. But I believe if I understand Councillor LaBarge, he is proposing that that be read together as one motion. Is that correct?
And then at the end, yeah.
Yes. And so then you probably, Ms. Davy Campbell, remove the word then, as that was placed there with the intent to identify two separate motions that council could bring.
Councilor LaBerge, are you good with that? Yep. Perfect. Thank you. You have a motion on the floor, Councilor Magoon.
Yeah, just actually really a legislative question. My only normally, because I really just asked for the same thing. My concern would be if it's a rescind, the requirement of council to successfully rescind a motion is a different ratio than it is to successfully pass. So in this instance, wouldn't they have to be two separate motions?
All right. Yes, Mayor Michaels through to Councillor Magoon. That is correct. I've been advised by Ms. Rendell, our Legislative Services Coordinator, that yes, those two should be separate with different requirements. Thank you.
So with that, we'll have the motion to rescind by Councilor LaBerge, just the first portion. We'll be voting just to get 2/3 consensus, and then it will need a majority vote after. So this is just to allow the process of rescinding to function. That is correct, administration? Okay, so council, the motion on the floor is to rescind. We need 2/3 approval. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, I'll call to question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Now, administration, can we combine the two now that it's past the rescinding?
I would just make the motion on the bottom.
Correct, because the other one passed, it doesn't need,
So
yeah, so just the bottom one if that's the appetite.
So, and Councilor LeBears would like to make that motion? Okay, Councilor LeBears will also make the other motion. Okay, council, any debate, questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call to question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously also. Council, anything further for this item? See, Councilor Taylor, was your hand up? Okay, perfect. With that, thank you, administration, for cleaning that up. And we are now at our fifth item, borrowing bylaw renewal, ATB line of credit. CEO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. So again, from time to time, of course, the town of Hinton requires or does require access to borrow money. This is one of your business procedure regular things that you have in place in order for that you to have access to that on a regular basis. You'll notice that the recommendation of administration is to give all three readings after the unanimous consent for third. Again, you don't typically see us do that, and I know that typically you don't care to do that. This may be one of those times where you feel more comfortable with that, which is why we also made that recommendation. There's probably very little public input into this kind of a decision. This is really a financial business access decision, but you're certainly welcome to give any or all readings tonight at your discretion. And as our Director of Corporate Services, Ms. Fox, is here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. I have Councilor Hawes.
I'd like to move the council give first reading to borrow line of credit to finance operating expenditures bylaw number 1165.
Thank you, Councilor Hawes. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any debate or questions?
Councilor Taylor.
Councilor Taylor.
Yeah, please. I don't want to make the meeting longer, but just a new person question. Why does this have to be passed annually? And is the money from the bylaw 1149 paid off?
Administration.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to Councilor Taylor. Ms. Fox, I will probably defer almost all questions to you on this matter as our financial officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard, through to council. The requirement for the bylaw to be passed annually is a request of ATB. And it's something that when items change within the borrowing, new items come up. So they have requested to have a new bylaw every year. We, as the town following the MGA, it does not state that it has to be yearly. One of the reasons for supporting that again this year was there was a change as far as the letter of credit that the ATB held with us. That is no longer required. So that did change the outlay of the monies that are there for the town to access. So the actual revolving line of credit at 1.9 million that we access for that purpose is no longer drawn down by the 663,000 letter of credit that it previously was. So hopefully that answers your question, Councillor Taylor.
Councilor Taylor.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor and Ms. Fox for that. Council, and that's Councilor Hawes made that motion, if I'm correct. Yeah, perfect. Anything further before I call this to question? Seeing none, I'll call to question that council give first reading to the borrowing line of credit to finance operating expenditures bylaw 1165. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Council, any appetite? Councilor McGoon.
I'd like to move that council give second reading to borrowing line of credit to finance operating expenditures bylaw number 1165.
Thank you, Councilor McGoon. Council, we have the second reading on the floor. Any further debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call to question. All those in favor? It's passed unanimously. Councilor Race.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to move that council give unanimous consent for third reading of borrowing line of credit to finance operating expenditures bylaw number 1165.
Thank you, Councilor Race. Council, we have a motion on the floor for for unanimous consent. Any further debate, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous consent was passed. Council appetite for third reading. Councillor Hawes.
I'd like to move the council give third reading the borrowing line of credit to finance operating expenditures bylaw 1165.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, any debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call to question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Anything further for this item, Council? Ms. Fox.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels, through to council. I just want to make you aware in the MGA 256.3, it does state that a borrowing bylaw that authorizes the borrowing does not have to be advertised if the term of the borrowing does not exceed 3 years. So I just wanted to, I didn't give you that full description when Councillor Taylor asked the previous question. So I just wanted to make sure you had that information.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Ms. Fox. Okay, Council, anything further? Seeing none, that'll bring us to our sixth and final action item, January 4th, 2022 regular meeting of council. CEO Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. I just wanted to give council the opportunity to take a look at their meeting schedule. We have a regular meeting scheduled for January 4th. At this point, we don't have any administrative action items on that, no discussion items and no information items. Typically, that would be your first regular meeting of the month where you bring your mask bylaw to that. In the past, when that hasn't occurred, we bring it to your second regular, which we can certainly do. So right now, you don't have any business to take care of on January 4th. And this would be your last regular meeting where you can modify your meeting schedule. So I'll leave that for you to debate.
Thank you, CEO Howard. Council, is there an appetite to remove that meeting from the calendar if we currently have no items for the 4th? Councillor Magoon.
I'd like to move that council cancel the January 4th, 2022 regular meeting of council.
Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, just briefly, Mr. Mayor, I think one of the complications with the time of years with the holiday approaching is that administration has to plan in advance any of those items and reports that would go on that agenda, which again, the 4th is not exactly an opportune time with how it interfaces with the holidays. I, for one, would certainly like admin and staff to be able to go home and enjoy the holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Magoon. Council, you have a motion on the floor to remove the January 4th, 2022 regular meeting of council. Any questions, debate? Seeing none, I'll call to question that council cancel the January 4th, 2022 regular meeting of council. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Anything further for this item, council? Seeing none, that'll bring us to our information items and have a proclamation to make. One moment. So currently it's Alzheimer's Awareness Month. Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, causing symptoms such as cognitive decline, memory loss, and difficulty performing daily activities. More than 50,000 Albertans are affected directly or indirectly by dementia and Alzheimer's disease. The Alzheimer's Society of Alberta and Northwest Territories provide valuable information and services for those affected by dementia and Alzheimer's disease, supports research to identify the cause, find a cure, and develop effective treatment options for this condition. The town of Hinton commends the Alzheimer's Society of Alberta and Northwest Territories for their commitment to working with rural and urban community partners in improving the quality of lives of care partners and those living with Alzheimer's disease. I, Mayor Marcel Michaels, do hereby proclaim January 2022 Alzheimer's Awareness Month in the town of Hinton. And with that, that'll bring us to our council information packages. Council, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Council. Councilor Race.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to move to accept information package 1 and information package 2 as information.
Thank you, Councilor Race. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any questions? Debate? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously, and that'll bring us to our reporting for this evening. Councilor LeBert.
I think we talked about having a discussion item
Oh, my-
inserted into the agenda.
My apologies,
Mayor.
I'm just so excited. We will go to the discussion item, which we had one, which was Councilor LeBert would lead that conversation.
Sure. And I know I've had this conversation with various counselors, and there seems to be some confusion on what we agreed to with the, and this is the COVID resiliency program in place currently with Community Futures. We had decided not to change the structure of the program when it was suggested that perhaps it be raised to 1,500. I thought at that point that the program was over. It isn't. And I've had the conversation with Nancy at Community Futures, who said the town would probably be best served if that program were terminated. The advertising was to cease and the funds be returned to the town of Hinton. I thought we should probably have that clarifying discussion and actually decide what we're going to do with the, I think there's about 13,000 sitting there currently.
Thank you, Councilor LeBert. Administration, any comments? I know we had added this last minute, but is the program currently still in place?
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. I would like to invite Mr. Rousseau. I believe he's on the meeting and I can't see my full list of staff in attendance, sorry. Or perhaps Ms. Weber as well, either one. So whoever gets to their camera first and turns it on, the winner is, Mr. Covet even. Excellent, thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize you were here. Thank you.
Mr. Kovac.
Your worship, through the council, the program is still underway. And in fact, I spoke with the manager of Community Futures this week, and we have planned to meet in January to discuss what would happen in the future of the program based on my direction at a previous meeting to provide outreach to the business community to understand how we should redeploy that fund.
Thank you, Mr. Kovac. Council. I'll speak. I was under the impression, for some reason, I thought the program had ceased, but I don't know what the recollection of the rest of council was. If that was the appetite, then I would be comfortable moving forward tonight, giving that direction. If not, if that was just my misunderstanding or other councilors' misunderstanding, then so be it. But if not, if the intent that night was to cancel that program and hold the funds and then deal with it at another day, then I think we should at least give direction tonight in some capacity. CEO Howard?
So I don't have anything more to add. I just going to take a moment to see what motion or direction was made for you. If you can, and my apologies, I'm not remembering the meeting that you had that discussion at. If anybody has better memory on that one than I do, we can easily go back and check our.
Maybe November 4th, to my knowledge.
Maybe November 4th. Okay, we can go back to the action items to see if it's still outstanding or if it's on our completed list to see if we've captured it there. Thank you.
So what we'll do, we'll take a 3-minute recess anyways, and we'll go a little bit longer after, and we'll reconvene, we'll give administration. If you want CEO Howard?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Michaels. So thank you for the few minutes to go back and just double check where perhaps some of the confusion came from. So that was back on November 15th of this year. So I'll direct you to page 81 of your package, which will, you'll see on page 81 in your current council action pending list as an outstanding item scheduled to come in late January, is MD 2402, which speaks to the action that you have directed administration to do, which we are working on. And I think perhaps where the confusion happened in the November 5th meeting is that there was a motion made that was defeated just before this motion carried. And so sometimes when we get those back to back, in several motions trying to determine where council wants to collectively land on something. So there was a defeated motion and then there was this carried motion. So the action for administration still stands and we're working on that for you.
And if I may, that's 2402?
Sorry, yes, did I say
No, I
that?
just want to.
Yes, the second item on page 81 of your package, MD 2402.
Okay, Councilor LeBear,
Sure. Well, to try and bring some clarity to this, then I'd like to make a motion. The council direct administration to end and maybe you could give me some help here, Stuart Howarth. Is the name of is it COVID Resiliency Program?
Yes, it's the COVID-19 Resiliency Support Program
Okay.
grant.
That?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So the to end the COVID-19 Resiliency
Support Program grant.
currently in place with Community Futures.
Support Program grant, there we go.
Yeah. And have all funds returned and all advertising cease.
and would you like to speak to that, Councilor LeBear?
Very quickly, I think this just brings some clarity, and I know I've had discussion amongst council, I've said this already, and this just brings some clarity to the program as we move forward to what we're going to do in January.
Thank you, Councilor LeBear. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Councilor Race.
Thank you, sir. So are you basing this motion on a conversation that you had with Nancy?
That's one of them, yeah.
Okay, I didn't have that conversation with her, so I don't know what she's saying. And listening to Scott, did he not say that he would be meeting with Community Futures in January?
Here, Michael's through to Councilor Race. Yes, she has reached out. I've seen that as well and been invited if we can coordinate schedules, but at the very least, there will be a meeting between administration and Miss Nancy, we'll call her, I'm sorry, early in the year. And this is one of a few things that she wanted to talk to us about. I would, however, if I may, just invite either Mr. Covet, Ms. Weber, Mr. Rousseau, any or all of them, because they're especially, Scott is working most closely with this. So I just want to make sure we don't have something in motion right now, because I believe the intent of this motion is to cease it immediately. And so if there's anything that happens to be in motion that would be compromised, I just want to make sure we understand that. And thank you, Mr. Chair, for the latitude to do that. I'm not sure, Ms. Weber, Mr. Kovac, which of you would feel comfortable answering that question, just to make sure that we have advised council on if there's anything that they need to be advised on before they vote on this motion. Thank you.
Interim CEO Howarth through to council. If I'm understanding the question, if there's anything that is associated with the program that would be, either interrupted or incomplete as a result of suspending the program, there's nothing else associated with the program that would be impacted by returning the monies.
Thank you, administration, for your support on my question. Thank you.
Thank you, administration. Councilor Rice.
You know, I could not make out what he said, so I can't agree or disagree.
Ms. Howard.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. Through to Councillor Race. My question of the team was just to be sure if there was, in case there was something already in motion, we had an application, we were processing something, that if this motion passes, I believe the intent is that it ceases immediately, and that if there was anything already in motion, that too would be stopped immediately. And I just wanted to double check with administration whether that was the case. They have assured me and you that there's nothing in the queue right now. So if you were to pass this motion, it would not compromise anything that's in the queue or somebody who's already applied that we're either initially or we're right close to awarding something, that kind of thing. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't, there wasn't a consequence to this motion that we did not bring to your attention. And I am assured that there is not.
Okay, thank you. You know what? I would just be more, I would feel more confident or comfortable for the conversation to take place between Scott and Nancy. Bring that information back to us as a whole, and then we could make our decision.
Thank you, Councilor Race. Councilor Stashik.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm always uncomfortable when these discussion items turn into motions and we don't have the background information, because originally I just thought, yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's slam that through and be done. And then as I thought about it, I was like, well, what happens in the unlikely event that somebody submitted an application today? It's not likely, but so I'm always uncomfortable in making a decision on motions that come out of the blue. So I always want to make sure I have all the information that's available and that I have time to consider options before making a decision. So I guess my question would be to administration, is there any risk at all in having this come back to a regular meeting in January for decision, where it could be accompanied by a brief report from administration?
Administration.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. Through to Councilor Stashik. Again, we verified that we were not working with anyone right now who's applied to the program. That's not to say that because people don't see an end to it, that they're not working on something and just haven't submitted it yet. I don't believe we would be able to bring anything to you before the anticipated January 25th due date of the action that you have outstanding right now. It could certainly be part of that, and it's likely that it would anyway, because when we bring options back to you, if part of that is to also demonstrate how well the program has been used, either since we last reported it in November 15th or as a program overall, so that you can understand the context of ending the program and choosing another option, as opposed to ending the program before you've chosen another option. I'm thinking January 25th is the soonest we could do that, with the holidays and getting reports written and reviewed internally, and getting them outward facing for you. Thank you.
Councilor Stashik.
Yeah, if I may, but there's no risk to the organization in delaying a decision until then. There's nothing that's compelling us to make a decision today. Is anything going to change between now and the 25th?
Thank you. Through to Councillor Stashik. To the organization, no. And to administration, no. My apologies. I answered that question from perspective of perhaps the applicants to the program and what other options. So I don't believe there's any risk in delaying this decision.
So if I may, Mayor Michaels, then, so considering there's no risk to the organization in a delay of a few weeks and, pending any, as I said, unlikelihood that an application came in today, or potentially more likely somebody's sitting on a potential application, not knowing that the program's coming to an imminent end, I would like to move to postpone this motion until the January 25th regular meeting of council.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Council, we have a motion to postpone the motion on the floor. I think Councillor LeBerge put the motion on the floor.
Thank you, Council. We're just double checking our legislative advice to you on this matter so we get it right. Thank you.
As we await for administration, I'll speak to postponing it. I support the previous motion of Councillor LeBerge, but my rationale was I thought we had done this on November 15th, and obviously we weren't explicit enough, and we should have used the word of cancel the previous, but we used the word redeploy. So the conversation, to my recollection, was the program wasn't working. We want different options, and we want to restart something different in January. So that, for me, inferred that we were stopping the program, and then after we get the input, we were going to start something new in a different direction. But obviously that got lost in translation somehow. So the reason I don't want to postpone it is I want to re-support what I supported on November 15th was, hey, let's regroup in 2022 with this money, but the program was just not working and I want to stop it. So that, for me, that's why I don't want to postpone it. I want to confirm what I originally thought I was doing on November 15th. Councillor Stashik?
So if I may, I just checked council calendar. I think the January 18th is the regular meeting of council.
So January 18th. Thank you for that, Councillor Stashik. Administration, a response on the postponement?
Yes, that's correct. You can, only motion that can be made when there's one on the floor, and like a motion to postpone can be made.
Great.
And it's being made to a specific date or time.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, date.
Thank you. Councillor Stashik would like to make a motion to postpone to January 18th.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Council, now we're dealing just with the postponement part, and if it passes this, the motion above will be moved to that further date. If it fails, then we'll go back to the original motion. So if you can speak to the postponement part, Councillor LeBerge?
Yeah, a lot of the discussion we had was effective spending of public money. And I think if that was in place, then it's our responsibility to sort of terminate this now. So I will speak against it.
Councillor LeBerge, Councillor Stashik.
Yeah, I'm for terminating it too. That got slipped, it got missed when we talked about this. I think everybody thought that that's what was going to happen, and then it came out later. Well, no, actually, there was no actual direction to terminate it. I have no problem terminating it. It's just a question of fairness to the business community that I think it's important that there's a end date that they have a notification. This program is going to end on X. So if you had intentions of taking advantage of it, you have a defined window now. It's not open-ended. And I think that's just a matter of fairness and transparency and openness to the business community, that this program that was available to you will no longer be available, as of X date. So I think it's unfair to terminate it immediately. That there needs to be a little bit of notice that we're going to, that we are stopping it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Stashik. Councilor Taylor?
No, I'm in favor of ending the program. I didn't support it at $1,500 and I don't support it at $750 based on the input I've received from the business people I talked to. So I'll be voting accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Council, I'll just reply to the one comment, because I do see the validity, to give some timing for it, but I would prefer it, and that's the risk that would be in the main motion. I would be amenable, it's not my motion, to say that the program ends by the end of this week or December 31st. I could go on that part, so we decide tonight, we give an end date, but I don't want to wait till the 18th and then to give more time to for them to say, so it'll be what, end of January? I just don't want to do that. So that would be my only issue. Councilor Stashik.
Yeah, if there's an intent for somebody else to put a different date on it and just define what the end date is now, that's okay too. I'd happily withdraw my amendment.
Council, anyone would like to speak to that? Plays an impact on the current motion of postponing it. Councilor there.
I'll make a friendly motion or a friendly amendment to the postponement.
So, well, that would have to be, we'd have to deal with that after the motion to postpone, but your intent is to
December 31st.
Okay, so unless there's any objection, I'll withdraw my amendment, then that's fine.
Any objection to withdraw the motion? Seeing nothing, Councilor Stashik's motion is withdrawn. And Councilor LaBerge, who would like to make that friendly amendment? Councilor Magoon?
Yeah, I'd like to add the friendly amendment that Councilor LaBarge had mentioned, with the end date as he had indicated, December 31st.
Councilor LaBerge, are you okay with that?
Okay, it's friendly, of course I am.
No, good conversation. I'll give administration a moment, but essentially it will allow 9 more days for the program to be in place, and then it would be officially terminated December 31st. Okay, Councilor LaBerge, you're good with the wording?
Love it.
Okay. Council, we have an amended motion on the floor. Any further debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question that Council direct administration to end the COVID-19 resiliency support program grant with the community futures and have all funds returned and all advertising ceased by December 31st, 2021. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Council, anything further for this discussion item? Seeing none, I do want to thank Councilor LaBerge and Council for dealing with this and cleaning up our previous issue from November 15th. That'll bring us to our reporting for this evening. And I will begin on my right with Councilor Race.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Councilor Race. Councilor LaBerge.
I would like to thank particularly Hans for the tour of the library and the rec center this week. Particularly the library, I was really interested in a bunch of the things that they are doing, the creativity being part of their mandate, 3D printing. The archive room was really an interesting part of the library. And then to have the discussion with FCSS and all the things that they do down there. So I'd just like to thank them for taking the time to walk us through the facility. And then just heads up that Community Futures is going to, and this goes to the business community generally, I guess, going to do their open house on January 19th. And I think there's a formal invite coming, but they're discussing having council and administration join Community Futures at their January 27th board meeting. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor LaBerge. Councillor Taylor, far left.
Nothing to report.
Thank
My
you.
committees don't meet. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Stashik.
I have nothing to report in addition to what Councillor LaBarge already reported regarding Community Futures activities and invitations that are pending. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Councillor Magoo.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I attended on December 15th in RCMP committee meeting with members of a number of respective parties. Some high-level points of information. Some good news items. Domestic violence rates in Hinton, which was once an area of concern for us last year, they're actually down significantly. They're down 26%. But nationwide, of course, that's an area that still remains quite high. So we're sort of bucking the trend, in the words of Sergeant Gursky, so that's a good thing for us. In terms of personnel, something worth noting is that our new detachment commander will be moving to town in January, but just a reminder, she is on leave until November. The question was asked about Sergeant Gursky, who will be filling that leadership role until November. Again, further good news, we will have consistent leadership in that area. Sergeant Gursky will remain on point in that role until the new detachment commander takes up her position, so that's great. Just to do a little bit of advertising for victim services, they are still looking for one or two more board members. So if you know of anybody who might be interested in serving on that board, please let them know to get in touch with victim services. That would be much appreciated. And then I had done some digging on some questions from the mayor, and of course that detailed feedback I had emailed to all of council, and there's no point in going through it all here. And at that point, we'll just we'll call her even, and I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor Magoo, and thank you for following up on those questions. Councillor Hollis.
Just one committee to report. Had a youth advisory committee last week on the 16th. So coming together, and the group's working on gelling and motions and all that. So had a good time there, and thanks to administration for being part of that as well. I think there's a lot of good learning going on. And I too just want to wish everybody happy holidays and safe travels if going anywhere. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Haas. Tours were great, as Councillor LaBerge said. It was nice to go in the facilities, and I look forward to do that at the very minimum every year. We should be in every single building that we have in the town of Hinton to connect with our staff, to see what's going on, what they're working on. I think they like it, at least most of them probably, and I think it's really good for us. So it was great touring. Nothing else really to add from that, but I do want to take a moment and thank Miss Rendell. I know her last day is tomorrow, tonight even better. So thank you for originally choosing Hinton, and we appreciate your time and your effort. And it's been a whirlwind going from an old council to a new council, but we wish you nothing but success in whatever you choose to do in the future, and we thank you for your time. And with that, that'll bring us to urgent matters. Are there any urgent matters this evening? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. I had put a request in for a discussion item on our in-camera time, and I hadn't heard back on that. Was I going to hear back on that? And the reason why that seems to be important is that I was seeing that there was somebody who wanted to get some of the Alberta environment information and was told it was FOIP protected under section 24, which isn't one of the mandatory sections. It's one of the discretionary sections. So it seemed to me that this discussion for all of us to have is a highly relevant discussion. Just wondering when it's pretty important. When were we going to have that discussion at all?
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. The Agenda Prep Committee quickly talked about it, but December 21st, our agenda was just too loaded.
That's okay.
opportunity to discuss this in mutual performance, but doesn't mean we can't have that conversation also. But honestly, it would be at our next agenda prep meeting to know where it's slotted. It really came down to the 21st was just, there was too much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Taylor. Any other urgent matters, council? Seeing none, I will hand it off to CEO Howard.
Mayor Michaels. And so the last committee meeting of the month, you usually see your action pending list as well as your completed list. As we don't have a meeting next week, we've included that in your package this evening. So all of the items on page 1 and most on page 2 are complete because they were on tonight's agenda. They did not get removed, so consider those in your completed list. Everything else is, you'll see coming in January. It's still expected to be in the queue, quite heavy, lots coming, what looks like on January 14th, but that's because you have lots that you'll see again on the 14th and 15th, which is a committee meeting for your operating budget. So if you have any questions, I can field them around the action pending list. And again, double checking now, they are all in order of the revised date, whether they had a revised date or not. And I have the leadership team here to support any questions I cannot answer.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Councilor Stashik.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. I do have a question regarding, it's MD 2136. And I was going to send administration an email regarding it, but since we're talking about it tonight, I might as well just bring it up. So that is council's direction to administration to pursue option 3 regarding the boardwalk approach ramps at Maxwell Lake. This is a matter that, the Maxwell Lake Bridge Maxwell Lake Bridge project is a matter that the Beaver Boardwalk Community Oversight Committee has been discussing and is continuing to discuss. And one of the questions that was brought up to me from one of the committee members is what's actually coming back to council when MD 2136 comes back on February 22nd.
Administration.
Thank you, Mayor Michaels. Through to Councilor Stashik. I'm sorry, can you just reference the page? And then I think I might have a different reference number than you do. 82, and it's 21, you mean 2178 or 2136? 2136, if that's what you're asking about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I highlighted the wrong one.
Okay.
Well, now I'm really confused. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, MD 2310. The council proceed with option 3. It's on page 84.
Page 84, thank you. Let me
sorry
join
about
you
that.
there. Okay, I'm on that page now. 2334. No.
No, 2310.
2310. Thank you. Got it. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's coming back March 22nd, not February.
For sure. Yes, March 22nd. Mr. Rousseau or perhaps Ms. Weber. Thank you very much. I know this came with the options that were provided by Ms. Daly Blackford, sorry. So Mr. Rousseau or Ms. Weber, if you can assist Councilor Stashik in an answer, thank you.
Yes. Okay, so through to the chair, to Councillor Stashik, thank you. Interim CEO Howarth, what is coming back on the 22nd would be renderings that would show forth the option 3, and as the motion describes it, it is basically the bridge will not be lowered, just for a little background, and then the ramps will be adjoining with the necessary grades that can accommodate wheelchair access, and that the former viewing ramp of some sort would be somewhat marginalized or made smaller to accommodate that, because council also at the time has recorded what that budget should be or what you'd like to see the project value should be. So that is what you will see back is a rendering of what the design looks like, and secondly, as to what the cost estimate will reflect in terms of that scope of work.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor. Well, so is there going to be a decision of council requested when that's presented?
Mr. Rousseau?
So I'm just going back to the, give me 1 second, please. Thank you. Just, so council has given us the approval to go with option 3. And so we bring it to council for your review. And if there is any additional edits that you want to do, or that may be coming from AEP, then that could be included. So the emphasis is on a preliminary design options and concepts that will be shared, and we'll also share that with the boardwalk oversight. So all the comments coming from council, coming from the boardwalk committee, will then be incorporated, plus AEP's comments. So it's not going to be a decision that council needs to give us. It's just optimizing option 3 with your comments.
Ms. Weber?
Thank you, CAO Howard, through to council. Also, I just wanted to let you know that Ms. Daly Beckford already made a presentation just last week to the committee, to the boardwalk committee, just to show them what that preliminary design looks like already, and talk about that process with AEP, just so you know that that has already been done. Thank you.
If I may, I think the committee member was asking the question because the extension of that is how the committee's feedback would be communicated back to council regarding this. So that's been answered. I appreciate the clarification very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stashik. Council, any other questions? Oh, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, again, how can the boardwalk committee make a informed decision on that when the AEE approval for some reason under section 24 is FOIP protected? And that's a discretionary FOIP protection. It's not one of the mandatory ones.
Administration?
Sorry, I do not have the answer to that. I would invite administration. Sorry, I have no advice at this table. Perhaps Ms. Weber or Mr. Rousseau. No?
Yeah, I will attempt to answer that question. Just today, it has been brought to my attention that there has been a request that it's under section 24 of FOIP that the protection of whatever information that went to AEP. I did ask Ms. Beckford to look into that as to what the nature is of the application. So we are reviewing that stance of section 24, whether indeed we can release information or not. So it's not that we are not wanting to, I'm just reviewing it, just came to me today. So I will just discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Russo, for that. Councillor Lagoon.
Oh, actually, I'll wait until the end of the CAO's report. Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anything else for our action pending list? Any other questions for CAO? Seeing none, Councillor Lagoon.
Just as an aside, Mr. Mayor, noting the time, it's 7:47. We do still have a number of items on our closed session. Are we able to sort of streamline this and simply make a motion to extend now rather than jumping in and out?
That would be my appetite. If somebody would want to make that motion, unless they think we can get through the rest in 11 minutes. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to extend. I don't see us getting done in 1 minute.
Thank you, Council. Council, we have a motion to extend. All those in favor? It's passed unanimously. Thank you for that, Councilor Lagoon. And that will bring us to administrative inquiries. Are there any administrative inquiries tonight? Council, any notices of motion? If not, oh, sorry, CEO Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I wasn't quite finished.
Okay.
I know we, again, the council action completed list, because it's new in front of council, this would be your opportunity that if you saw anything on there that we've marked complete that you did not think was complete, because you're expecting something more, now would be the time to bring that up. And apart from that, and Mr. Mayor, you captured that as well. Ms. Rendell's last night tonight with us, so I just wanted to extend that thank you and appreciation both from administration her service to us and council and the community for that, and we wish her well as well. And of course, a happy holiday to everyone too. So I will pass that back to you now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Merry Christmas, happy holiday. Obviously, a great 4 days coming up. Council, anything further? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to go in closed session with a 4-minute recess. Councillor Hawes.
Motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Everyone, I'd like to reconvene this meeting at 10:01. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, Mayor Michaels, I'd like to move that if I could see the motion, please. I'd like to move that we change the January 11th Committee of the Whole meeting to be a regular council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, we have a motion on the floor. Any debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Councillor Taylor, or opposed? Oh.
I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. That's unanimous. Council? Any further direction? Councillor Hawes?
Just wait till the motion is up there. Do you have a second motion typed up? Oh, there we go. Thank you. I'd like to move the council direct administration to proceed with drafting a memorandum of understanding with the proponent as discussed in closed session and bring it to the January 11th, 2022 regular council meeting for decision.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, we have a direction on the floor. Any debate or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's passed unanimously. And Council, Councillor Hawes.
I'd like to move that we go back in closed session.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Council, all those in favor? That's passed unanimously.